Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Kelly Crum, Content Specialist for Maryland Realtors, and I want to welcome you all to our commercial series webinar, The Case for Healthy, Smart, High-Performance Buildings. Today, we have with us an expert group of panelists who will together dive into how building health affects tenant well-being, productivity, and ROI, and how positioning properties as healthy, high-performance workplaces can create a competitive advantage. We do encourage your questions and we look forward to answering them. Please post your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. This webinar will be recorded and posted on our YouTube page for future reference. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our host and senior legal associate, Cleo Pappas, who will introduce our panelist. Cleo, take it away.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you everybody on behalf of Maryland Realtors and the Commercial Alliance for joining us this afternoon and our wonderful panel who've agreed to teach us a whole bunch of stuff on healthy buildings. I'd like to introduce the panelists. First is Janera Sorrell. She is a Senior Director at the International Well Building Institute and a well-accredited professional. She is a passionate advocate for social sustainability in the built environment. As Senior Director of Global Market Development for Real Estate at IWBI, she empowers global real estate owners, developers, and operators to unlock the transformative power of the well building standard and brings deep expertise in human-centric strategies that enable them to achieve business goals and reporting requirements. A leader in market development, Janera spearheads initiatives for key sectors like Latin America, multifamily, legal, and senior living. Janera's commitment to well-being stems from diverse experiences. She led business development at Better Spaces, a tenant amenities and workplace well-being company, and had previously served as program director at Urban Zen. She holds a bachelor's in economics from the London School of Economics and an MBA from Columbia Business School. Our other panelist is Brian Gilligan. He is a national leader in sustainable design and workplace innovation. He leverages his professional experience at GSA and the U.S. Navy and graduate engineering work at Stanford to advance healthy, high-performing buildings through research, policy, and partnerships, and specializing in indoor air quality, energy efficiency, and public-private collaboration. Brian is with the U.S. Green Building Council, USGBC. He is the chair of the Indoor Environmental Quality Technical Advisory Group and is very knowledgeable on LEED and IEQ issues. Our third panelist is Luke Lanciano. He serves as the Director of Sustainability for the Tower Companies, taking the lead on sustainability initiatives across their portfolio of approximately 4 million square feet of commercial real estate, including nearly 1,400 apartments. Tower is a privately owned real estate firm committed to sustainability, founded in 1947 and headquartered in Rockville, Maryland. Our moderator is Aaron Rice. He is a licensee, a Commercial Alliance Committee member here at MAR, and the founder CEO of Concierge, and Maryland's first and only RESET accredited professional. RESET stands for Regenerative, Ecological, Sustainable Ecosystem Technology. They continuously monitor radon gas and asthma triggers within the built environment and provide the only real-time performance-based building standard driven by smart sensor data. They utilize a first alert warning system, which notifies building occupants of real-time indoor air pollutants and the emergence of sick building syndrome, in which building occupants experience acute health and comfort effects. For example, headache, eye, nose, and throat irritation, dry cough, dry or itchy skin, dizziness, nausea, fatigue, insensitivity to odors, and inability to concentrate, all due to unhealthy buildings. They are able to quantify the financial impact of healthy buildings on rental prices and market dynamics in the built environment. Reliable, meaningful, and benchmark data is essential to understanding today's environmental performance challenges. With that, I want to reintroduce Aaron. Take it away, and we have a very informative program this afternoon. We appreciate your time.
Cleo, thank you so much. And thank you to Maryland Realtors for hosting this event today. And thank you so much for our panelists. We've got a very diverse group, as Cleo said, and want to just talk a little bit about kind of what brought me to the space in indoor air quality. I discovered radon in my home here in Randallstown during COVID. and have since gotten it mitigated, but became a quick indoor air quality nerd from that process. And of course, everyone on the call should know that radon is one of those things you can't see, you can't smell, you can't taste, but it does cause severe health problems here in the United States. And so that kind of is what brings me to the space. As Cleo said, I am a commercial licensee, and we focus on, healthy, smart, high-performance buildings. Ideally, we want to be able to walk into every building, whether it's a school, a hotel, an office space, industrial space, and be able to see something that you see in back of me here. Indoor air quality good, right? We know from the EPA app that we can see what's going on with the outdoor air quality, but rarely do we see what's happening with indoor air quality. And so with that, I just want to kind of go around the table a little bit. Janera, do you want to tell us a little bit about kind of what gets you excited about what you're working on right now, and maybe what's coming up in the future, or briefly as we circle around the panel?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's always a pleasure. Thank you, Cleo, also for the introduction. So yeah, indoor air is one of the biggest concepts within our well building solution. It's of course, you can't see it, but it's so important, as you just mentioned, and how you treat indoor air has so many implications in terms of like the health and well-being of people. We, in our system, the Well Building Institute, we have a well building standard from the Institute. We have a bunch of different factors that go into our standard that relate to indoor air. How many times does the air get circulated from the outside, for example? So air exchanges. What kind of filters have been used in order to make sure that the air is indeed clean of pathogens? So MERV 13 would be the minimum, right? And then how often do you open your windows, for example? That's another big one, right? I mean, with radon, I believe if you get in outdoor air, it starts to help mitigate. So there's many ways. We're now also leading a coalition for indoor air quality, which is actually launching today at the UN, where we've brought together a bunch of globally experts on indoor air to make sure that we can start lobbying for cleaner indoor air. Like you say, the EPA regulates outside air, but there's no rules or regulations on how clean your indoor air must be. So we've put together this coalition, and with the aim of advocating for these kinds of rules that make sense of the indoor air.
Thank you.
I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And folks, we've got most of the people that you're seeing here are leaders of different environmental certifications that you can get for buildings. Janera is with the WELL certification. Luke is with has a Fitwel accredited professional as well, and then we got Bill, who's with LEED as well. So in the USGBC. So with that, Bill, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Let us know kind of who you are and what brings you to the space, and what are you working on currently?
Sure, absolutely. And just real quickly, my name is Brian Gilligan.
Oh, I'm
the chair of the Environmental Quality Technical Advisory Group for the LEED rating system. And I'm so thrilled to be on this panel. And Janera, you just mentioned the announcement of the commission. I'm actually up in New York City, and right after this meeting, I'm going to go over and watch you guys make your
there you
go.
I was supposed
air quality
to go,
is a human right.
But I can't make it. I'm so sorry, but you'll be there in my stead. Oh, it's going to be amazing. And
Indeed.
Yeah.
So excited. And I think I'm very excited also about the LEED rating system. In April, announced the launch of LEED version 5. And LEED really took some really nice steps in ratcheting up prerequisites for indoor air quality, as well as expanding the credits that really make enhancement of indoor air quality and the monitoring and management of air quality over time more of a central focus. I think LEED version 5 does a great job really focusing on human health and resilience, in addition to being such a great standard for green high performance buildings generally. So excited to talk about that today.
Thank you. Brian, forgive me. I apologize.
No worries.
That's embarrassing. Luke, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're working on and what brings you to the space.
Sure. So yeah, like you mentioned, I'm the director of sustainability at the Tower Companies, a local Maryland-based firm. I mean, Tower luckily has a long history in this space. You know, we have some of the earliest examples of LEED buildings. You know, I'm actually, we finished up the process of Fitwel certification last year, recertification for a number of our buildings. And now we're in the process of LEED recertification. So I'm going back through all the records and seeing, you know, the V4.1, V4, V 2009. We're going back all the way in time, and you know I'm really proud to work for a firm that you know was talking about VOCs in carpet and paint in the early 2000s. You know those still can be an issue, but the market has luckily finally started delivering lots of great opportunities for our teams because now in every new space that we build out, they are just they're the minimum standard that we allow. So yeah, I mean, we've focused really on the office side in our build outs on indoor air quality and then the central air handling units. And then in our residential spaces, we were proud to develop the first Fitwel certified multifamily building in the world back in 2017, which is the Pearl in Silver Spring, Maryland. And we've utilized that standard and you know LEED certainly, and we've done a lot of work that I think would work well with well.
I
So
think we
I'm
should
sure
talk.
Janelle, we should talk.
Yeah, for sure, Luke.
But yeah, and you know, just a final thing, like this past week, we got our second of two reports that we get each year on the air quality in all of our buildings. We do biannual testing. They test for everything from you know temperature and humidity, kind of like the base level air quality metrics, down to VOCs, formaldehyde, you know, PM 2.5, PM 10. And it's always great to see, even on a recurring basis, our teams are maintaining those systems that circulate air in the building very effectively and that we can sort of retain on a regular basis a high level of air quality for our occupants, you know, our tenants, and the many clients who call our buildings home or work.
Excellent, excellent. So I thought it would be fun to go ahead and test everyone's knowledge with the indoor air quality quiz. Let's see if I can pull that up here. There we go. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, Aaron, you're good.
Okay, great. So we call this the Healthy Building Challenge, the Indoor Air Quality Quiz, and I encourage folks that are participating on the Zoom today to answer into the question section or the chat function section and see if you can answer some of these questions. What we're going to do is pick one of the panelists is going to maybe answer one of the questions, and then we'll have some of the other panelists kind of chime in. But when we are talking about air quality, we are talking about reset. We are talking about, you know, a standard for what is acceptable and high performance when it comes to monitoring PM 2.5, which is particulate matter. So I'm going to do my best to try to break down some of these acronyms: particulate matter 2.5, and then VOCs are, of course, total volatile organic compounds, and then CO2 is carbon dioxide. So we do have acceptable and unacceptable levels. We do have high performance levels as well, according to the reset standard. So let's go ahead and start off with our first question. And
Aaron,
Janelle,
you need to make the quiz a little bit larger. We can see like all of your tabs. Sorry.
oh, okay.
Just click into the quiz. I think.
Yeah.
I have, but let's see. Let's try this. Bear with me 1 second. Let me stop the screen share and start back over. How about now?
I would say you can zoom out just a little bit.
Okay. All right.
2 more clicks out.
How
There
about
you
that?
go.
There you
That's
Okay,
go.
perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right. So, Janera, first question goes to you. And then Brian and Luke, if you want to chime in, you can. Which building type has the best indoor air quality? Before you answer, I want to let you know it's not Baltimore City Hall and it's not the Maryland Department of Health, because both of those recently were discovered to have Legionella. So that should make your answer a little bit easier.
I think it's an airplane because they circulate the air constantly. And that's why it's okay to fly when you have COVID, or at least you won't get COVID in an airplane. But that's my answer. But I also have like lots of ideas. I don't think it's a casino for sure. Hospitals probably do some air filtration as well. Residential is very much starting. House to worship, I don't think they know what they're doing there yet. But airplane is my answer.
Airplane is your answer. Luke, do you want to chime in?
Well, I think if any of those commercial offices or residential properties are managed by Tower, then maybe that would be the answer. Yeah, I tend to think airplane has a really strong case. Though, I mean, in casinos, you do have a lot of excess, I think, outside air to help circulate and keep people interested. So yeah, it could be one or the other.
How about you, Brian?
Yeah, I was going to go with airplane as well, except when airplanes are powered down, the circulation is sometimes cut off, and you can have moments where you might spend, well, if you're me, you get delayed quite a bit. So, an hour or two sitting with the ventilation off, so that could be problematic. But I agree,
Yeah,
when the plane's powered up, it's probably the best. I've read that casinos, like Luke was saying, really, really focus on bringing a lot of outdoor air, trying to filter as much as they can, because you don't want people to want to leave or to get tired and feel like they have to leave. So I suspect that might be a possibility, even though there's often smoking in casinos.
Absolutely.
I'll go with the airplane.
Okay. So I would say that based on my research, I would go casino first, airplane second, hospital third. Airplanes and hospitals being around the same, getting that 16 to 18 air changes per hour. Casinos are constantly pumping fresh indoor in, but at the end of the day, you don't know until you measure, right? You don't know till you measure. And so like I said, I'm an indoor air quality nerd, and I take my indoor air quality monitor with me everywhere. So even when I fly, you're right. When you're on the tarmac, the air's not circulating, but when you're on the air, it actually is pretty healthy air when you're flying. Okay, so the next question.
I have monitors in my house too, and
Yes.
it's just changes all the time. It's never constant.
That's right.
If you open a window, it just like goes way down, but then if you cook,
Then what do you do, right?
yeah, right. I mean, it changes. It's constantly in flux. It's not a stable number.
Sure. Luke, let's give you the second warm-up question. The person who manages your building has a greater impact on your health than your doctor. True or false?
I would say true. Just given the amount of time you spend indoors, I think it's 90%-ish of time spent indoors. The time with your doctor is, I guess it depends on your doctor, but it could be 3 minutes a year, or maybe up to 10. If you have a particular concern, maybe a little bit longer, but you're just spending so much time in a space, the air quality in that space, the CO2 levels, the different things found in the air that can really, exacerbate asthma, exacerbate all sorts of conditions that a doctor might not be able to fix.
Yep. We spend 90% of our lifetime indoors. 70% of that time is spent in our homes. And the majority of time spent in home is in our bedroom. So yeah, it is true. And I like what you're doing with your buildings, especially the Pearl and Silver Spring, in regards to really making sure that you're intentional about making sure that people are in healthy environments. Brian, you want to chime in?
Yeah, no, I agree with Luke. I think the building manager plays an outside role. If we're talking about commercial office buildings, they're responsible for building operations, and that's what controls the quality of the indoor environment generally, and air quality in particular. And there are just so many things, so many levers they have to get that right or not get that right. I would say we had a convening of experts on air quality to say what should GSA focus on back when I was with GSA. And I expected it to be raising outdoor air standards or raising filtration standards. And actually, very strong signal back from our expert panels were, you got to focus on maintenance. So you can do all you want with standards. If you don't do the basic maintenance, none of it matters. So building up operator, I think, is huge.
Right, right. And folks in this side of the industry are all familiar with Peter Drucker saying, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it, right? Got to inspect what you expect. All right, so warm-up question number 3, I think we'll go straight to Brian. A building that is designed and engineered for energy efficiency is also considered to be a healthy building. True or false?
Well, I guess I would say it certainly can be. There's no reason an energy efficient building can't be a healthy building, but it's not necessarily the case. You really do need to design for both. And it means doing things like really considering how are you ensuring that you're bringing in the adequate supplies of outdoor air, or perhaps even exceeding that? Are you doing the right amount of filtration on outdoor air and on your recirculated air? Are you taking into account the local air quality conditions when you design your building and set up where your outdoor air intakes are, and how you regulate vehicle traffic in and around the building? So it's not necessarily the case that an energy efficient building is a healthy building, but it can and should be. And again, I'll point to that operations and maintenance. If we don't operate and maintain our buildings correctly, then you'll have neither an energy efficient or healthy building.
Absolutely, absolutely. Janera, do you want to chime in?
Yes, absolutely. So indeed, we've seen very efficient buildings, energy efficient buildings, if like you were, given that we're talking about air, that have the best energy efficient HVAC systems, for example, but they might not have the right filtration, or they don't get enough external air. And then it may be efficient, but it's still not healthy. And sometimes there's a little bit of a conflict is not the right word, but the more often you bring out outside air through the HVAC system, it uses more energy. So sometimes it's not necessarily, they have to be connected to each other to make sure that you keep the efficiency, the energy efficiency, whilst maintaining the quality of air. And of course, as you're saying, Aaron, measurement is the way to make sure that your air is clean enough. So yes, it's not always true that an energy efficient building is also a healthy building.
Yeah, I was recently at an event here in Baltimore. I won't say where, but it was a newly renovated building, $3.8 million renovation, extremely energy efficient. Of course, like I said, I take my air quality monitors with me everywhere, and the carbon dioxide levels were in the 4,000 to 45,000 parts per million range, which is a immediately exit the building type of range. And it was amazing. Luke, you want to chime in a little bit?
Wait, can I add
Oh,
a little,
yes.
like a little
Yes.
anecdote? So we have I work a lot in Latin America, and we have a wonderful consultant there who does everything LEED, net zero, LEED at the highest levels. And he did a children's hospital, and he was like, well, I have a very efficient building, which is carbon neutral. But how do I know if it's going to be good for the children who are supposed to be, getting better? So that's why he decided to also implement well in alignment with whatever he had already put in place. So now you have an energy efficient, net zero carbon, net zero building, water. I think it was also energy and water, and a healthy building. So together it makes a really good combination.
Yeah. Luke, you wanted to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, certainly for us, there is a balancing act. There can be direct trade-offs if you're trying to sort of optimize solely for one. The biggest example I think is in the air handling units. Like if you want energy efficiency, you want the least restriction on the motor. So MERV 8, MERV 10 filters are less restrictive there. But of course, they don't filter out all the contaminants that you want to filter out. So the way we have often balanced it is really focusing on the occupancy in particular spaces. So in our office buildings, we want to make sure that we are modulating outside air so that it's targeting a low CO2 level in the building. Essentially, we don't want the CO2 level to really get beyond our honest standard is around 800. I know a lot of people are, I guess the ASHRAE standard is 700 plus the ambient CO2 level. But when we can keep that metric in line and use outside air to sort of modulate, we can balance the energy efficiency. So if there's not many people in a building, which, Fridays in an office building nowadays have become fairly low occupancy days in our experience. So those are days when you can slightly reduce the outside air intake, but still maintain a really healthy environment and maintain efficiency. As well. So trying to balance those is something we're always thinking of. The other example that we've run into is like older multifamily buildings that have just very, very antiquated windows. The downside to those windows is they're very energy inefficient. From a health standpoint, it's not ideal that they are leaky, but it does actually provide some additional outside air around the seal of the window, which is not where you want your outside air coming from, by the way. But as we replace windows like that, we're finding, we have to make certain adjustments to other outside air parameters in those buildings to maintain like an appropriate level of airflow. Because otherwise you can get things like condensation where you don't expect them, especially in older buildings where you have uses in very particular locations. You have to try to adjust where you can to ensure that you're not causing like a particular area of moisture buildup, for example, which is a common problem in multifamily buildings of a certain vintage. Once you tighten up the envelope, if you make no other changes. So those are some of the ways we try to balance energy efficiency and health in our buildings.
Yep. And I think what we heard is you got to measure. You got to measure. If you don't measure, you don't know. And Brian, kind of circling back to you, I apologize for calling out a particular building, but I was at an event at the Cambria Hotel at BWI Airport, and they have a LEED Gold certification, and they do monitor clean indoor air quality, more so on the volatile organic compound side. But we noticed, based on these timestamps, that the carbon dioxide was in a not so healthy level. This might be a good time to talk about LEED version 5 that just launched this spring, and the indoor air quality requirements, the healthy occupant or the health assessment information as well that comes along with that. Can you chime in about the features, advantages, and benefits briefly about LEED version 5?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So the LEED version 5 has basic requirements that your building be designed to meet ASHRAE standard 62, so the basic standard for ventilation in buildings. And that has requirements for the amount of outdoor air that you need to bring in, which will dilute the CO2 that's generated by the occupants of the building. So you have a use type. In this case, it would be some kind of a conference hall or a classroom. Not sure exactly what the space was that we were looking at here. But there would be, a conference room. So you would assume there'd be a certain occupancy, and the amount of outdoor air would have to be able to basically meet the ASHRAE standard 62 requirements for CO2, which Luke mentioned before, about 700 above ambient. So you wouldn't want this to go above 1,200 parts per million. Unfortunately, you have, you might have a lot of people in the room, more than the max occupancy, or maybe for some reason the system is out of balance and it's just not providing the amount of outdoor air that's needed to maintain that threshold of CO2. For whatever reason, it wasn't here. So in LEED version 5, there's also credits that are there to encourage the monitoring of indoor air quality. and the setting of alerts that will actually, if you go above the standard thresholds, it will alert the building operator and tell them they need to take some sort of action to correct the level. In addition, there are also some requirements for maintenance, looking at is the system operating the way it was designed to operate? In particular, is your outdoor air damper open? Is it closed? Is the fan that's supplying the outdoor air bringing the outdoor air into the building, is that operating correctly? And if not, again, building automation system should have an alarm or a fault that lets the building operator know that some action is needed to be taken to correct the situation. Those kind of emerging requirements in lead system should address what you're seeing here. But again, it really does come down to is the building being operated the way it was designed? Is it tested and balanced? Are the individual system components working the way they're supposed to? I have a friend who is a commissioning agent, and they went out to a building that had been built 16 years earlier and never commissioned, and they found that the outdoor air damper had been closed shut from the factory. It was never actually opened. It had been operating at full closed for 16 years. So these sorts of things happen. That's an extreme case, but it's important to do the O&M, and LEED also provides a lot of great standards for designing building right to begin with.
I love the fact that LEED version 5 is definitely very intentional about transitioning into more performance-based standard versus design, because again, if you're not measuring in real time, then you're going to have some challenges. Janera, do you want to chime in to what you're seeing here, or Luke, or should we go on to the next question?
I agree with everything Brian said. I don't have much more to add. There's a lot of people in that room breathing out.
Doing what we normally do, right?
Yeah, I will say, conference rooms are a challenge. Based on the occupancy changes, which can be radically different. Something we found is like in an office environment, like you might have a whole floor that is built out, and they have a big conference room. And occasionally they'll need an auxiliary HVAC system just for that conference room to meet some of the airflow requirements. And if that system is not integrated into like the full building automation system, it could be just set, sort of a set and forget approach, unfortunately, where you enter that conference room Monday morning, it is fully conditioned. It's been conditioned all weekend. Oftentimes it's cold. That's a frequent complaint that comes up in conference rooms that I've experienced before. And oftentimes it's not talking with things like the CO2 sensors, the occupancy sensors that might be already installed in that floor. And so you're over conditioning the space, and you're using a lot of extra energy. And in that case, the CO2 level will be very low. It'll be basically ambient CO2. And what we found is sometimes you have that, and then somebody has the smart idea to reduce the energy spend, and they turn the system, way down. They oscillate or take the outside air fan or damper, close it quite a bit. Maybe turn the thermostat, a fair bit. Put it on a timer of some sort, and then people are having a meeting in there, and it gets really uncomfortable all of a sudden. So these are some of the operational challenges I've experienced, especially in conference centers. So, but I would be curious to talk with the facility managers for this facility, because there's probably something bad going on. That level of CO2 is pretty high.
For sure.
What we've seen in those cases, building on what Luke said, is these independent air filtration systems can be put in the corners depending on how large the space is. And that actually really helps in terms of getting the CO2 or the particulate matter down. So those do not require this whole HVAC investment, but can just be these portable ones that you can actually move around. So when you have a large meeting, maybe bring another one or two of these in to help with the mitigation.
Because we were on I appreciate that. Thank you, Janera. Because we were on the main floor, I kept opening up this training was in November, so I kept opening up the patio door, and then the numbers would drop. But then somebody who got cold would
Who got cold? Yeah.
close the door, and my monitors are set to beep at 1,400 parts per million. And so you could see within 15 minutes how quickly the numbers started to increase. But I guess here's a question that I have that's not on this sheet. But Janera, Brian, Luke, tell us the healthiest building that you've ever been in before, if you could. What do you deem in your mind as the healthiest building?
Well, from our perspective, how there's different levels to achieve WELL certification. So a platinum would be the highest level.
Okay.
And in order to achieve platinum, it doesn't only require to implement the minimum requirements for.
I'm thinking of like an actual building, like a street.
No, but like I'm getting.
Okay,
to
go
it.
for it. Go for it.
So we one of the newest ones in New York City is Citibank's headquarters. It achieved platinum. It's amazing, all throughout in the interiors. And then, believe it or not, my Brazilian partner, he's getting platinum across all of his projects because he's, an overachiever. And so wherever you see platinum, that's where we know that the air is measured and that it achieved the highest levels.
I love it. Thank you. Brian, do you have a particular building, a favorite that's like, this is really, truly a healthy building, and I love going there every time I travel in that city?
Yeah, well, I'll just mention that my alma mater for grad school, Stanford, built a new building for our civil engineering, environmental engineering department. And it was called the Y2E2 building, and did just a really great job with natural ventilation and dedicated outdoor air for when they do. It's a mixed mode system. So when they do use the mechanical system, it's a dedicated outdoor air service. So you always have either access to outdoor air directly or a continual constant source of outdoor air through the mechanical system. But the building did more than that. They also did a great job balancing daylighting with control of glare. They did some really nice things with biophilia and connection to the outdoors. And they did a really good job with acoustics in places, not everywhere. There was a lot of kind of bare concrete in places which were pretty reflective. But I think they did a great job balancing more than just air, daylighting, acoustics, and that kind of connection to the outdoors.
Awesome. So Janera, did you say the new JP Morgan building in Manhattan, or was it a different building that you mentioned, Janera?
I mentioned the Citibank building
Citibank building
in Tribeca, yeah.
Citibank building in Tribeca. We've got
It's also the largest WELL-certified building in the world.
Okay, so we got Tribeca in New York. We've got Stanford. Luke, the healthiest building you've ever been into, and you're like, I can't wait to go because I just feel so good in that building.
Sure. Well, just to represent Maryland well, one of our buildings, the Pearl in Silver Spring, is the one that I immediately think of. It's a high-rise multifamily building. The orientation of the building really maximizes views of sort of the natural surroundings. So, even putting aside air quality for a moment, like anywhere you look, you're basically looking out of a window onto green space. And it's harder to measure how that impacts your health, but I think most people would agree that it does. It helps, just connect you a little bit more with nature. The air quality in that building is great. Dedicated outdoor air systems, and it's highly efficient, which I love because I'm always trying to balance those things, and that building seems to really hit all those marks very, very effectively. It's just a sort of a beautiful space to be in. Our lobby level is it's very, it feels very breezy and airy, even though it has a tight envelope, because it has views out of almost every direction. So that's the building I think of, and I always love when I can host meetings there or, just attend different events in that space.
I think I heard you say before that you monitor or realize how well the building's doing at least renewal time. And the average resident staying 7-8 years in a multifamily building, which is kind of
Yeah. And in a building that's only, you know, about 8 years old, like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
they're basically like this is they're the first person in that unit, and you know, they don't want to give it up. So that's something like we've experienced quite a lot, like a very long tenure with our residents and our clients in our office buildings as well. And that, you know, sort of from a dollar and cent standpoint, reduces turnover expenses. And it's just, I think it's a nice vote of confidence every year that this is a place they feel comfortable and healthy, and it sort of activates their, you know, activates them as people in a way that another space might not.
Yeah, so I'm going to nominate 100 International Drive, which some people on the call may know as the Legg Mason Tower in Harbor East. Now it's the Franklin Templeton Tower in Harbor East. The John Hopkins Carey Business School is there. I spent about 2,500 hours on the 23rd floor, and I nominate that as the healthiest building I've ever been in, actually, because I take my monitors in every building that I travel across the country. And on Sundays, when the HVAC systems were off, the carbon dioxide levels were in the high 480s, the high 480s. So the systems were shut down on Sundays because there wasn't that much occupancy except for me. So I found that to be one of the healthiest buildings that I've been into. Okay, so next question. How do you know if your building has high levels of radon? This question will go to Janera. I think we're coming back to you. How do you know if your building has high levels of radon? You can smell it, you can see it, you can test for it, you can taste it, you feel sick. How do you know?
You have to test for it
You
because you
got
can't smell it or well, you definitely can't taste it. But
no.
yeah.
No. And if the building touches the ground, it's recommended by the Environmental Protection Agency to get it tested, whether it's an
Mhm.
office, a school building, a hotel, your home, right? Should get tested. Any comments on that, Brian? Radon?
Nothing really to offer. Yeah, you definitely have to test for radon. It's not something you can assume is or isn't there.
Yeah, and Luke, you're in Montgomery County, and Montgomery County is probably one of the leading cities with actual laws on the books in regards to radon, measuring radon. I believe that even in a multifamily building, not your building, of course, but if a building does have radon, that the owner does need to alert all the tenants in the building that have radon. So it's a different type of situation for building owners in Montgomery County. Do you want to chime in a little bit about your experience with that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'll make a small pitch for the second option. You can see it just like in particular locations with high likelihood of radon. If you don't see a radon mitigation system, there's a decent chance there's some radon. Yeah, I mean, it always varies, of course, but yeah, I think it's a particular issue in you know, Southern Maryland. Just it seems to be just much higher radon levels than normal. So it's just a weird geological feature as far as I can tell. So yeah, that's it's very much worth testing and ensuring that your space is you know, has the right mitigation method so that people aren't getting sick.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Brian, next question is yours. In picocuries per liter, what does the World Health Organization state as a safe radon level? 0.13 picocuries, 2.7, or 13.5?
I believe it's 2.7.
2.7 would
correct?
be that would ding 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 ding. That is correct. And just so you know, folks, as we close out this portion of the quiz, because we're on question number 2 and I've got like 30 questions, but this has been a great dialogue. Even at 2.7 picocuries per liter, the EPA still says that compares to smoking, you know, about four cigarettes a day. The EPA safe radon level is 4 picocuries per liter, which is 8 cigarettes a day. My home in Randallstown, Maryland, we were in the 20 to 40 picocuries per liter when we discovered radon. So you can see how bad it was at our home. We've been here for 25 years and didn't even know. So I'm so glad that we got it mitigated. So I think what I want to do now is maybe open it up to any questions. Cleo, are there any questions in the chat, or should we go ahead and answer some more questions here?
So you can go ahead and answer some questions. I don't see anything in the chat or the Q&A, though I do have one of my own.
Yeah.
Everybody has been discussing, you bring your own monitors with you to test indoor air quality. Do you have any suggestions as to what are available out there for the average person, or if they would want to test on their own home? Where do you go look for one? What kind of quality in a monitor are you looking for?
Janera, what's your answer on that one?
So I have Kythera monitors. I have two, one downstairs in the basement, which we just moved in right before the summer. Testing for radon is on my list. I haven't done it yet, but I did look up that where I live, it's not very prevalent, so I wasn't too worried. But now I'm really going to put it on my list again and like get it tested. And we're agnostic in terms of like which monitor to use, but I have the Kythera ones. We also work a lot with WellStat. I see that come across with our clients a lot. So those are the two ones that come off the top of my head. We have a web page on our website called Works with Well, where vendors who provide solutions that fit within our system, they can apply to work with Well, like it's part of the directory of solutions, and it gets reviewed by the third-party reviewers that we work with. And then if the system that they provide the solution for actually works within the Well system, then it gets approved and it goes onto our directory for Works with Well. So I'm sure probably there's a couple of other air quality monitor solutions. Then our parent company, Delos, they also provide a lot of different solutions for monitoring. So the Kythera ones only monitor, they don't filter. But maybe the best solution could potentially be one that monitors and filters. But I wouldn't know where
Got
to
it.
send you besides the ones that I just said, the two sources.
Got it. Luke?
So for me personally, I'm like a big fan of Aranet. They're just like these little square sensors.
Can you hold that up one more time so people can see?
Oh, Aranet.
Hold it
like,
up. Hold it up so people can see it.
Yeah. So this is one of the Aranet 2s, which is more temperature and humidity. I have my Aranet 4 at my house, we just bought in May, and it's on the 5th floor. So luckily, yeah, pretty far away from any radon sources. But it's really handy because you can pretty quickly see sort of a graph over time, and you can identify like for example, if we're doing cooking in a particular time of the week or a particular time of the day, you can very quickly see, like, are there big spikes? Should we be opening the windows every time we cook? And in an older building with gas stoves, the answer is usually yes. Similarly for just the temperature and humidity, I like to just put these in parts of our building and then see what things are like after hours. If we're seeing that the temperature does not change after hours, there might be a system might be running for longer than it ought to. If we see humidity spiking quite a lot, especially in the summer months, that's another concern. Like that could pose potential microbial risks. In our buildings, at just a more general level, we use WellStat. We find that that's a pretty neat platform that integrates well with our energy meters. So we can see just in real time, basically we can see when our HVAC starts up because our energy meter spikes, and then our CO2 levels drop, humidity levels sort of drop off as well. And it gives us little alarms when certain thresholds get breached. A particular example of that is we have like a dentist in one of our facilities, and there's additional exhausting that's done in medical offices, except when the exhaust is turned off, then there's no exhausting. And we were able to tell pretty quickly, like the exhaust was not working in that part of the building, because we saw a couple of the metrics go beyond their thresholds. So it's really helpful to have these kind of real-time monitors to kind of maintain conditions in the buildings, make sure that people don't get sick, and in a lot of cases, the metrics for IAQ also relate to ones that you can sort of experience viscerally, like it's a
Yeah.
smell. I always tell people new carpet smell is the only thing you should know when it comes to VOCs. Just like think new carpet smell, but like on all sorts of materials. It's unpleasant. It's kind of gross. You want to get rid of it as soon as possible. And yeah, that would be my recommendations.
Yeah, no, I love my Aeronet 4. That's my daily driver. That's the one that I take with me everywhere. Brian, what's your daily driver when it comes to air quality monitors, and how do folks know which one's good, which one's not good?
And let me interrupt you quickly, Dave. We had a question as to what brand you were actually saying. Arrownet, like ARROWNET. Was that what you were discussing?
I don't know how well you can see it here on the screen, right up below the clock here. It's Aeronet. ARANET 4. Aeronet 4. You can get them on, Amazon.
Super, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, well,
Brian?
so when I was with the General Services Administration, I was involved in developing a specification for a contract that could be used by all of our regions and buildings to procure smart sensors. That was both occupancy sensors, but also indoor environmental quality sensors. And in the government, you have to be very careful about being agnostic to specific manufacturers. So we do like to adopt third-party standards or systems if we can. And in fact, we had adopted the Reset Air system to set standards for both procuring devices that meet minimum requirements, as well as kind of specifying data quality, and even helping us understand kind of where to place sensors within the building and how many sensors to use, that sort of thing. So we like that. The LEED version 5 indoor air quality monitoring really encourages you to monitor at least 5 different parameters, and those are CO2, PM 2.5, total volatile organic compounds, and temperature and relative humidity. So you get a good sampling of the types of things that contribute to air quality without being exhaustive. You can test for more, but it can tend to drive the price of the monitor up quite a bit. I'll go with Genera though. When I've done a couple of my research projects where we deployed air quality monitors, we did actually use Kytera sensors, and as a result, we brought them through the process of adhering to all our IT security requirements to actually integrate them with our building automation system. So we have used Kytera, that's where I have the most experience, but in general, specifying, we've been agnostic and use the Reset as our go-to.
Yeah, Kytera does all 5. So in my house, we measure all those 5 elements.
So my daily driver is a Reset accredited monitor, third-party accreditation. I think that's important, is making sure that the third party is actually accrediting them. This is the AirThings View Plus, and it does have a radon sensor in it, and it measures the parameters that Brian mentioned as well. But third-party accreditation, especially at the enterprise level, is probably the way you want to go. And with LEED version 5, a Reset accredited monitor along with the UL monitor is both required to meet their standards. So
yeah, the Kytera one does not measure radon.
But it is a Reset accredited monitor, which is great. And that's
It's also well accredited.
Yeah. So back to radon, I guess. How many homes in Maryland? I guess we'll go to Luke for this question. How many homes in Maryland are estimated to have high levels of radon according to the EPA? Is it 1 in 4, 1 in 15, or 1 in 30?
I think just given the geology of Maryland, it'd be closer to 1 in 4.
1 in 4 is correct. We're going to breeze through these in our last few minutes. Cleo, how many more minutes do we have?
We have about 7
All
total.
right. So quick questions, quick answers. And I'm not even going to call on anybody. I'm just going to give a clap to the person that gets the right answer. Number 4, how many Americans die of radon-related lung cancer each day? 10, 25, or 58?
I'll say 58.
Genera, Luke? I said I wouldn't thought, that's what I did.
Yeah, I think high as well, 58.
Yeah.
58 is the correct answer, unfortunately. According to the Harvard Review, what percentage of asthma is contributed to dampness and mold? Is it 10%, 21%, or 40%?
40? That I'm purely guessing.
21% would be the right answer. Number 6, indoor air quality is up to 100 times worse than outdoor air quality. True or false?
It depends.
Yeah. They don't use well, lead, or fit well, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's so you have to also measure. That's the basic theme of our conversation. You have to measure, whether it's with sensors and on-site testing. So you don't know because you
Yeah.
can't see it or smell it.
So when you get your AirNet, if people decide to go with that particular monitor, and you monitor what outdoor air quality carbon dioxide levels are parts per million, which should probably be in the 400 to 500 range, and then you take them into a building, you'll be able to quickly to see the difference between how the building's performing versus outdoor air. Now, of course,
Well, it's probably not 100 times, because we just saw a really bad measure, and that was not 4,000.
You're right. You're right. But I have been in that building that had 4,000 parts per million.
Did you breathe?
But the other point is also this does not qualify for, you know, Canadian wildfire smoke or wildfire smoke on the West Coast either, you know, where that wouldn't be the case. On average, how much of your lifetime do we spend indoors? This was mentioned earlier.
90.
90, right. On average, how much time is cut from an average person's life expectancy due to air pollution, according to the World Health Organization?
I think it's 2 years. There's a state of global air study that identified this. I remember reading. It's horrific.
2 years is the correct answer. According to the World Health Organization, how many people die prematurely each year from diseases caused by household air pollution? 500,000, 1 million, or 3 million?
Globally,
Globally.
I would say 1 million, but again, I'm guessing.
I cheated a little bit. So that World Health Organization report says 3 million globally. A lot of it's due to people cooking indoors with solid fuels. Just creates terrible indoor environments.
3 million is the correct answer. If you could only monitor and measure one thing at your office, what would it be? Energy and utility savings, greenhouse gas reduction, carbon reduction, real-time indoor air quality, renewable energy battery storage, EV charging, water waste reduction, recycling. What's the one thing you want to measure if you can in your office?
As one thing I measure in my home is indoor air quality.
You're making me choose between my favorite kids, basically. I would say indoor air quality is helpful because it essentially tells you something about the energy use as well. We use it, and you know, you can pretty clearly see, especially in a commercial office building, when the HVAC system turns on and when it turns off. So that gives you a small proxy for energy use. But I'm really split between energy and IAQ. You gotta still save that energy, Aaron.
Yep. Brian?
No, I'm not against
Oh.
energy saving, because that, you know, obviously it keeps the bills down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of energy savings, I think, sorry, just in my home, I open windows. That's the most cost effective and quickest way to get my indoor air back to its normal levels, or at least its desired levels. And that costs absolutely nothing. But the fact that buildings now have windows that are inoperable, I just don't understand that, or at least in terms of, you know, in this conversation. I understand it for many other reasons, but
Brian,
it should be some kind of way.
you wanted to chime in?
Both.
Yeah, no, I think I would side with Luke. It's my two favorite children. But I would say buildings are about people. So if I had to choose only one, I'd probably measure indoor air quality.
Yes, and I'm going to pick indoor air quality as well. It's because that is what's going to address the productivity and the performance of the building occupants, right? So if by monitoring air quality, you know, the average person takes off 11 days per year because of illness or something like that. The average person misses 11 days from work. If you could resolve the indoor air quality and just get employees to be in the office at least one more day a week, just what that means to the bottom line, I think is huge. You know, that old JLL 3 330, 300 rule, right? $3 a square foot for energy usage, $30 a square foot for rent and operation costs. And most businesses spend $300 a square foot for the employees' health and wellness and salaries and benefits. So I think we've come up on our time. This has been great. You guys have been an awesome panel. I appreciate your time, your subject matter expertise, your thought leadership. Cleo, you want to close us out?
Yes, I appreciate it very much. Thank you, Aaron, for bringing this to our attention and providing it to Maryland Realtors. Brian, Luke, and Janera, thank you very much for your expertise. This was very eye-opening, I'm sure, for everybody in attendance and definitely for myself. We appreciate your time and your knowledge, and thank you very much, everybody, for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.